What a shame. I'll never have it. I just don't understand why it wasn't produced. If only there was someone that would understand this pain.
I've been here the whole time, right?
I was wondering what you were doing there, Jason. All right. Well, I have one half of the Agents of M.A.S.K with me, Jason, and we're going to be taking a look at some things that weren't released. And it's a hot topic, believe it or not, in the M.A.S.K community. So, Jason, I was just pining away here at Shark. And there have been some great attempts made by people, very talented artists, but it was never released. And we got a half-assed Gloria Baker, too. What are your thoughts on it? Start there.
I don't know. It is weird because she came in with the split seconds, right?
Yeah, that's the weird part. That was like a year after the cartoon ended.
Right. So we went through the whole first two series of vehicles and then the racing series. And then we get a Gloria who is not the yellow suited Gloria that we know. It was a decent sculpt, I think, with the mask and her likeness, but the color scheme was more obviously to, what was it? The stiletto was what she drove in the split seconds. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, she drove Sly's mask.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's weird, even with, if you think about Vanessa and Manta, which came with the racing series, which was, past those first two waves of vehicles, the what I would call the first 65 episodes, where she is featured in everything, it seems like. And we had to wait for her for two waves. And Shark, I don't know, it had to have appeared in the first 10 episodes of the series. So what gives? It just doesn't make sense that they waited and gave her a different vehicle than what we were accustomed to for the show.
Yeah, it was odd. And you're right. I'm pretty sure she appeared. I'm looking at a picture here. I'm pretty sure Shark appeared in at least 2 or 3 of the opening episodes, and Manta was heavily used. And obviously, you had some times when Gloria or Vanessa would pilot another vehicle, but I still don't know what gives. And yeah. I was having a conversation on our Facebook page where somebody was telling me that, I'm trying to remember the details, I'm going to get it wrong, but it was something with how Porsche was basically not willing to license out the likeness of the car, and that's why there were some other things back then that weren't Porsche-like toy-wise. It's an interesting theory, but not all the cars look exactly like the cars, so you could have gotten away with a slight bump in the back, or I don't know, some kind of weird wheel thing, or there's all kinds of things you could have done to get around it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just begs the question, and obviously it's a boy's toy back then. Obviously everything was split down the middle, and it still is, but you get a little bit more cross play with some of the toys. But every time I talk about this, I look over at my figure shelf that's right here, and I'll superimpose it on here, so everybody can see it. But I look over and I if I didn't know exactly where they were on here already, I couldn't pick the 2 girls out. And I'm sorry, 3 if you count the clone of Gloria. But it's funny in that way that everything's included and there's no exclusion, but it just seems like there was so many missed opportunities here.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me that if that's the theory, if if Kenner or whoever the creators behind Mask thought, oh, this is a boys' toy, and they're not going to want to pick up the girls' figures. They're just want to play with the guys. Well, that's a load of crap because we know how many girls were in G.I. Joe. CoverGirl, Scarlet, the Baroness. A lot of them were in, that cartoon and a big part of that series. So I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much, but it's just kind of dumb to feature them in the show so prominently. Even sometimes they took a back seat, Gloria riding shotgun with Dusty, and sometimes in Thunderhawk, and Vanessa even driving Switchblade, piloting that around for a while in some of those episodes. But for the most part, when they were called, at least Vanessa had Manta. So it doesn't make sense that they would just kind of shove the girls to we'll get to them eventually, I don't know.
Well, the one thing I will say is that I'm happy that there are people doing customs of Shark
Sure.
in the box, and the Gloria sculpt is actually pretty spot on to what she wore. It's just not the color scheme. It doesn't make sense. Right. And there's a Facebook page, I think it's called M.A.S.K Customs Shark or something along those lines, that he when he gets time, he's able to put those together. Not just Shark, but he does some other things too that we'll get to in a little bit. Mm-hmm. And just remember though, Jason, we got these right away. So we got these they were right there, right in the beginning. God damn.
they were in the first episode.
Oh, I have 2.
Oh wow. You
I have special plans
fan,
for this
Bill.
one. Special plans for this one. A later episode. I'm not going to tell you what, but
yeah, speaking of things they should have made with the vehicles, they should have put like a blanket in the back of Firecracker so you could hide them back there, and recreate that whole first episode.
Yeah, I make fun of that scene a lot actually, and not because it's bad writing or anything like that. It's just because of how it's just preposterous, and it's not bad writing. It's just like, hey, there's a kid and a robot in the back of an open pickup speeding away, and I always laugh, and not to go off too much, but I always laugh when Scott's on T-Bob. It's a motorcycle. He's just driving around with no helmet on, no mask.
Yeah,
they literally. They probably have some spare sitting around. Here, take this one. It doesn't do anything, but it makes you look stupid. And here, wear it.
Yeah, all those PSAs, not to shove a fork in a toaster or something. And here he is driving around in a motorcycle with no helmet. I mean, come on.
No, it's funny if you think about it. And I forget what episode that I did, but I picked on him a little bit. But it's so well written, but it's from the 80s. There's going to be weird things in it. We just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, speaking of weird things too, so you have an article that I'm going to display right here. Oh, where's my hands? There, right there. And it'll be in the link as in the description too. You have an article about 7 vehicles that were in the cartoon that you wish were toys that you guys put together. How many years ago did you do this one?
I don't know. It's been a while. It's probably been maybe 3 years that I put that one together.
You know what's funny with this is every time I try to look up pictures of the jet. It always takes me to this page. Because you have the photo you have here, the panoramic shot or the widescreen one. It's the best one on the internet of the transport jet. So whenever I'm looking at it for like a reference point or something like that, I tend to look at it and I go, Jason wouldn't mind if I stole that, would he? So
I don't care. I did all of those panoramas that I did are for fan consumption. Believe me.
I just think it's funny. Every time I'm like, why don't I just save that picture? But I always go to that article. So, but yeah, it's a good list, And why don't we start with the transport as my cat tries to eat through my door? Good? All right. Pets are part of the show, so don't worry.
Okay.
They make noises, they jump around and do whatever they want. So, but no, the transport jet. So
Yeah.
go ahead and start with that because I've always wanted it, and you obviously do too, and you make some good points about it here.
Yeah, I mean, there's two obvious choices, I think. One is the transport plane, and one is like a Venom base that we never got. I think those two are the pretty much the top of the list if you take a random poll of fans. But the transport plane, it could have been the equivalent to, I guess, what I would what I kind of likened it to was the flag for G.I. Joe. You know how humongous the flag was, and you could land a Sky Striker on it, and every kid wanted it, but it was, it would take up half your basement. It was just kind of humongous, and only for the richest of the bunch.
Yeah, and too, if you think about it, you could probably sleep on the thing when you were younger.
Right.
You could use it as a bed.
So I don't think the transport plane would have been, that huge, but you think about, trying to fit Thunderhawk in there. I don't know about Rhino. I don't know if you could go that, wide in the back trying to get that in there. But just think about, like Thunderhawk and Hurricane, those sized vehicles into this jet, having that huge canopy in the back that opens. And you could fit, 2 or 3 of those cars in there at least, and a couple, the Condor and the smaller ones. Well, and how awesome would that have been to be able to fly this thing around, probably with 2 hands, and you're hauling,
it's a team lift.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Well, think about this too, and I've referenced it a lot. Boulder Hill, you can't fit Rhino through it.
Yeah.
Which still drives me crazy. And it's funny, whenever my niece and nephew are up and they're playing with it, I'm like, no, Rhino can't go through there. Do it sideways. Obviously the scale would have been massive. I'm looking at the animated GIF you have here.
Yeah, I'm watching it too.
It would have.
I mean, that if you look at the scale that they have it in the cartoon, especially that image, you could fit the whole mass arsenal in the back of that thing. There's so much space.
It would have to be as wide. I'm looking at the base of Boulder Hill. It would have to be as wide as that base, or a little bit less, to make it tangible.
Right, but it's not a long plane either. It's got the long wings, but it's more wide than it is like long. So it would have been fun to at least get 2 or 3 cars in there and have like an open canopy in the front where you could set the figures to fly the thing. That would have been enough right there for me.
Yeah, I've seen some attempts out of styrofoam, I think, but Alex Pax, a few years ago, did all those Lego models, and he did a transport jet. I don't remember the size and the scale. I'll be referencing it in the video, but it was really well done, and it shows it could have been done, obviously. And to see one of the things that's always bothered me since I started running this site is that I can't find anybody that worked for Kenner to talk about with any of these things. And obviously, maybe they can't, but I would love to be able to talk to, a designer, a sculptor. Hey, did you guys ever have plans for the jet? Did you ever have plans for a shark? Just simple questions to, kind of put at ease some of the things that people are upset about with the lines. So it's how many years later?
Yeah, and if you watch the what is it, the Toys That Made Us, the documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
And they're obviously talking about how, Kenner came about with the Star Wars figures and everything that kind of happened around really that kickstarting their whole company in the late 70s and early 80s. And you think about some of the other lines they talk about, He-Man. There's not many lines past Mask as far as waves released, in the decade. I mean, they got 4 series of toys that were released in the 80s, and there's not many franchises that can say we did more. Just the uber ones that they talk about on there, in the Star Wars and the He-Mans, and I don't even know if Thundercats had more than 2 waves, but you would think that would be something significant that somebody would either try to go after. I think they should just do like a Kenner documentary and go year by year, like start with Star Wars and then go, well, this year we introduced this, and this year we introduced this, and then kind of talk to people about that, and just go the life of Kenner essentially until like Hasbro bought them out, and see if because I'm imagining that a lot of the same people worked on multiple properties. And
yeah, I would imagine so.
I think they're out there.
It's a good point too. About the waves. I mean, obviously Transformers, G.I. Joe. As you said, I don't really. I wasn't big into Thundercats. I don't really remember the waves they had, but I mean, obviously G.I. Joe's still going to today. The Masters line, they had a pretty good run. I think about an 8-year run, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
From the original, maybe a little less, but and as you said, in the Toys That Made Us, I've talked to I don't know if you call it talking, but I've asked a lot. Hey, I see Brad Turner in your frame here when you're hey,
When's it coming?
I know a community that would be able to help you with this. I know 2 really good guys and 1 other good guy, and just a bunch of different websites here. Like, there's all kinds of things that you can go with this.
Yeah, and you started. I mean, M.A.S.K started in '85, and when was Split Seconds released? '88.
I believe so.
88 or 89. I mean, it was like a good 3 or 4 year stretch that they were, and they went back to production, because of the M.A.S.K difference, the long mask, short masks. So they, put out a whole bunch, went back to the factory with it. And so they, there's a ton of product out there that they put out there. So I don't know. I would think it would be significant enough to feature on like some kind of combined Kenner episode or something. Maybe not in and of itself, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's no, like a Kenner series, as you said, and patent pending, right? Or whatever you call it. You want to trademark your idea or something, do it now. No, but I mean, Kenner had so many lines. I'd said the 2 things I collect the most. I don't know if you can see part of it. Yeah, you can see it in over my right shoulder here. Sorry, the camera screwed me up. There's my Superpowers collection there, and then M.A.S.K, right? And then I have Batman the Animated Series. Like the major things that I collected are almost Kenner based, and I do have some of the Star Wars too, but they're in the corner that way. You're not allowed to see them. Sorry. And there's so many things you can do with that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of finding the people. So
right. Well, just coming back full circle, I would theorize that there are those people out there that worked on it still that maybe they get asked more about Star Wars or something else that Kenner did versus M.A.S.K, but I think they're out there, and I think, I don't know. I would hope that they would at least be receptive to us as a fan community to give us some insight into, was the transport plane part of the, the plan and they scrapped it or something? Some of these other ones that we'll be talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, and I've talked about this in the past too. It's probably when I was on GeoCities, but Lance Anderson, the artist who made the logo, reached out to me. I think he was talking with. There was another website. I think it was called All About M.A.S.K. I think he was talking with him too. Like, and he's reaching out and like, here, I did this. Here's the logo. I have that sheet here of that he used for the box and everything like that. The prototype art, and it was really cool. And I was hoping that was like a precursor to some other people reaching out that worked on it. I've talked to a lot of great people. Obviously, we have a great relationship with Doug Stone. I've talked to some of the writers. I've talked to some of the other voice actors, and you and Wyatt have as well. So it's not like they're hiding. It's just odd that maybe I'm not looking in the right places. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe some people that are watching this might be able to help us try to locate them, because I'd love to just talk to them, because it's not just they molded plastic. They molded our childhoods. They did. And they're always going to have a special place in my heart. So I hope you're out there, and I hope that you're willing to talk, but because I have a lot of questions.
It's funny what we will the links we'll go to kind of reminisce or remember our childhood and what we'll collect. And we just this week we found out our Toys R Us is becoming a Big Lots, and they are gutting the thing.
So I have like the inventory sitting there from Toys R Us.
Well, I've made two I've made 2 trips behind the Toys R Us to see exactly what they're throwing away. There's still a sign up that I really want, and I would put it like somewhere behind me. Like, I'd rip all this crap down and put it up
except for that one really cool Matt-Trakker picture you have there.
Well, I would put that back up when I talk to you. But there's this sign that says, I think it just says entrance. It's got this awesome like outline of Jeffrey and an arrow. And I would love to have it. It would probably take up that entire wall. But I keep waiting for them to like tear it down and like sit it back by the dumpsters there. But all they have now is all their like metal displays and mangled sharp metal that I would not, go near to pull out a sign or something, But it is that feeling it's like, okay, these people who are doing this, if I went in there and saw like a sign that had Jeffrey on it or something, and I'm like diving through the dumpster, they probably think I was just, from another planet. But I don't know, some of us, it just touches us in a different way that we're like, we want to somehow physicalize our nostalgia. And
who does that?
Yeah. Anyway,
well,
you want to go on to some other ones, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, no. So you touched on the Venom base too during all this, and it was funny when I reviewed Outlaw. I did a thing in the beginning where I took the Venom characters, and I have my old play sets from when I was like 2, like an old zoo and the Ewok, the Kenner Ewok thing, and I'm like trying to find them a home with those things. So I don't have one for them, and Outlaw is the only thing we really got. I mean, it's a mobile base,
right?
It serves its purpose, but I always remembered finding something else to use when I was younger. I don't remember exactly. I probably used that Ghostbuster headquarters up there for something. Um, and it's a shame that they never did that, but they also never stayed still. So I might have been hard to kind of come up with that.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. Just the extension from the show of what they were, and just basically popping up wherever Mask was. But still, I mean, Outlaw's a great toy. There's so many different places to play on that one. You got the cab and the catapult that's up front. You got those two little side things that pop down are like computers and hoses and stuff, and then you got the little platform and I'm trying to remember in the show if they actually ever used the top portion of when you open up the huge trailer, that if they use that as like a little base with the radar dishes and all that.
I have to go back on that. I don't remember them ever being up there. Actually, you know what? I think I do remember Gory being up there, but I don't remember. I don't know if he was doing anything like of substance. It's for some reason I do remember him being up there though.
I'm trying to recollect myself, because it wasn't used too much in the series. It would pop up here from time to time, but I think there maybe was a scene or two with them up there. But still, I mean, it's still not like something you would attack Boulder Hill with, If you want to,
all the time, I think I would just jam it into it, Like I would be Venom, my brother would be M.A.S.K, and I'm like, all right, well, you can't move. I can just. And Outlaw's as big as Boulder Hill on the scale of toys. So,
well, I mean, you can launch missiles at it.
Oh,
but you pull up to Boulder Hill and you open that up, and then all the people are turned the opposite way up there in their little war room.
I took some shots at T-Bob with Outlaw. I hit him my first shot too. I was pretty amazed. Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought it's hard to imagine what they would have came up with. I mean, they would have had to establish something in the animated series, I think, to give them a base. But they did give them a couple fun little bases, I'll call, throughout the series. One is the one I touched on here in the article, which was the vanishing airfield or airstrip with the disappearing runway. I thought that would have been fun. A couple other ones that they did. They had a submarine, remember? And I can't remember which episode that was, but it was almost like a headquarters in their submarine. They had the minions walking around and everything. And then the other one I thought of was that oil platform.
Yeah.
Out in it was the one where they're in, I think, the Netherlands. And that thing it's got the vehicles in there. I think Rax launches the sub off of it. And I can't remember if it had any like weapons or it had some doors and transformation parts, I think, that oil platform. But they were very creative with it, and that made it a lot of fun that you didn't know where Venom was coming from. I mean, they hid Switchblade in a windmill, that was fun. So that aspect of the show, I think, is great. But at the same time, it's hard to, I guess, give Venom a base that's an oil tanker.
Yeah.
Or something that would more rival, Boulder Hill.
Well, we can end with some things that were almost produced in through the same people that are working with Shark, Thunderball and Ramp-Up. Thunderball was a fuel tank, smaller one, not base-like, but in Ramp-Up. There's customs out there that you can get, and when I finally got these in my figure collection, I could call it complete. I felt a sense of accomplishment when I opened the box up, and just amazing artwork with it. There's high-res pictures on the website and on the social media pages, but I still to this day I can understand why they weren't produced, because there's a little imagination lacking with them. But if they had them that far along, it just kind of begs the question, what happened really? Did they just lose faith in it during the production? Funding, ghosts, gremlins, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, it seems so. They never produced it. Do we know, were they going to release those with the racing series, or?
That's a good question, because
was
they don't
it
have
after?
clones.
Yeah, there was no clones with them, right? And it was more, I think, geared towards the, I guess, racing series than anything. So was it just something they abandoned before they went to split seconds, or was it, like the next part that they were going to release?
That's a good point. I never thought of that. Like maybe they started building something else and they're like, no, let's get these weird clones in here instead. And they kind of just shelved it and did that. I mean, that's actually a good theory.
Well, if you've got a billboard, you definitely want, like an oil, whatever that thing was on the other side, so they can battle each other,
Hopefully they're positioned. Hopefully they're built and positioned in the right spots, because who the hell is that?
yeah. Hopefully they build them in the correct location.
No, but there's very few legitimate ones that are out there of the prototypes. But on Shapeways, and I've talked about it in the past, there's a couple artists that are putting those together. I have them in here, and I'll put them up on the screen too. But you can get a Thunderball and a Ramp-Up if you want. I think roughly about $100 after all the parts, maybe a little bit more or less. But it's better than spending $4,000 on a not released one, and they're functioning, and they go in your collection.
Remind me again what the Ramp-Up was.
It's like a service station platform that can raise up in like the scissor lift thing.
Okay.
It turns into like a tank. The sides fold down, and it turns into a tank.
Yeah. See, that makes sense for the racing series.
And that's the thing too. That's a part of it. Like, where does it fit? But I like your theory of it being something, starting as something else, and then doing that. But for the split seconds anyway. But I mean, yeah. But that's what makes me think. Like, I have it listed as Series 4 when I have them listed on the website, but I don't know if that's where it falls. Just because there's never really been anything concrete.
I'm trying to remember where Albert Pineo put them, because I was thinking maybe he did have them with the racing.
Let's look. That's one of the first and best websites out there for it.
Yeah, that was my resource for the longest time. I mean, still a great resource.
Hasn't changed since 1999, I don't think so. He's got it in the racing series, or I mean, it's not racing, split seconds.
Okay, but it just still doesn't make sense. It's just with not having the clones, and I don't know. It's something for just people to theorize about, I guess, because I don't know if we'll ever know if these people don't come out of the woodwork like we want them to talk about it.
Well, maybe we'll figure that out, but I don't know.
What did you think about some of these other ones in the list that I came up with? And these were just kind of fun ones that, probably didn't really make sense because they were only in like one episode.
It would have been hard to make the Scorpion Shell one. I do like it, but it'd be hard to just get here's a shell for Scorpion. They would have had to do some other weird like add-ons, I think, to the vehicles. The one that would have worked the best would have been Blackout, I think.
Yeah.
As you said, like, you weren't sure if it was piloted by anybody, and I'm not 100% sure on that either. But I mean, you just look at the design of it. I'm looking at the animated GIF you guys made here, and like it's just a cool looking vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't know what made you put it on there.
I think it was just the look of it. I mean, it looks like a car. It looks like, I don't know. It's futuristic, and it's still just appealing, to look at. I think that would make it a fun vehicle in a hovercraft, something that doesn't necessarily have wheels or anything. So I don't know. I just kind of, at the point that I created the article, I was just kind of thinking back of what we've reviewed, and those things kind of came to mind. The little transport vehicle that Matt takes to Boulder Hill, that would have had to been like another. All right, here's the mansion over here next to Boulder Hill, and then you've got this little railway with the car. There had to have been like a whole other accessory.
It's like that racetrack I have. You'd have to get that racetrack.
Right.
The slack car thing I have there, and you'd have to attach it to it somehow. Like you'd have to have that much space for it to be relevant.
Yeah.
But you'd have to have. It's almost like the Batcave, like the Lego Batcave. There's one of them out there where you have the mansion up top, and then a little bat poles or whatever, and then you can go down. That's what you would have to do with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually,
and then Magma Mole. That looked like just something that Destro would create. It was like a total, almost like Cobra vehicle. It seemed like, just by the looks of it, and what would you do with it? I don't know. Drill into the side of your drywall.
Well, I mean, the mechanism, like I can see the mechanism already. Like the sculptors and the engineers that worked on these. Obviously, you'd have the wheels turn the the rotors, and there you go. But maybe if it was used a little bit more, it would have been in it. But imagine if they put Magma Mole in, but they never had Shark.
Yeah, that would have been
that would
be kind of weird.
And we're allowed to be cynical now because we're old. But as kids, it didn't matter. And it would it have been great for all these to be out? Yes. But there'd be some other things that wouldn't be out that we would still be like, I wish that was out. So, I mean, we can't be totally upset. Obviously, I've said it before, like the Series 1 of the line, it's some of the best toys ever made. And, obviously as things get older, the lines got a little worse, but I can't complain about what wasn't released too much. So
I think they did a very good job of getting all of the main ones, I mean the ones that we saw the most, correct when they produced it, and all of the features and everything. And it's just, those things are like a technical or engineering masterpiece, on some of those, just how they transformed and everything, or converted, as we say. We don't like to use the word transform. If you've ever noticed that in the series. But anyway, it's just the way that all came together to convert the vehicles back and forth. Oh, it was great. It was great. And I don't think it's been really done since, as far as creating a vehicle, a unique vehicle with a figure mashed together. I remember, I think it was the third Transformers movie, Hasbro released the Transformers with the small figures. And I was like, oh man, this is like them knocking off M.A.S.K. But they were tiny too. They were even smaller than like M.A.S.K figures, if I remember right. But I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that somebody thought, oh, let's go ahead and throw Shia LaBeouf in with Bumblebee, here in this set. And obviously they're not. That was just unique to that movie for some reason. But the fact that somebody did that, I thought was great. But it's still not equal to, what we know.
No, and I don't. I mean, in closing, we might never know, but we're getting closer, Jason. We're getting closer. This, we can talk about this for another 2 years. Yes.
Fingers crossed.
But
I wasn't flipping you off there. I
couldn't tell you were too small there. No. The announcement, a little while ago with, the director tied to it, the writers, and the success of Bumblebee. We'll see what happens. And there was a recent announcement that, Bumblebee was a kind of a, relaunch of the Transformers franchise. So hopefully it's the shared universe that we deserve. I don't know.
Yeah. Pins and needles.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on for a little bit.
Sure, man.
There's obviously a lot more that, you and I could talk about, but we'll stop it there for now. And I appreciate it. For Jason of agentsofmask.com, I'm Bill Ferris from Matt-Trakker.com, and we'll talk to you later.